everybody, and welcome to qualifying for the Music City Grand Prix here on the streets of Nashville. Unfortunately, due to the delayness of qualifying, it was supposed to take part over 3 hours ago. But the track is dry, situations are clear, and we're almost all ready to go, which means we're going to hand over to our commentary team for the IndyCar Radio Network as the green light goes on in a few moments' time, and qualifying will be underway here. Traditional group stages as well. Group A of 12 minutes, Group B 12 minutes. The top 6 from each of those sessions combined to make the Firestone Fast 12. They'll go out for 10 minutes. At the end of that session, we'll then have the total running order. The Firestone Fast 6, they'll go out for 6 minutes. Fastest at the end of that has pole position for the Music City Grand Prix. I'll be up in the commentary box, sort of like in the host role, but let's hand over down to our presenters from IndyCar Radio, who are trackside.
No, they were in the rain, as you said, and had no opportunity to have the dry tires on today. They did yesterday. They ran with the dry tires. They have somewhat of an idea what they need to do, Mark. Today, conditions are very humid out after all the rain that came earlier. The track looks good. Just had the Trans Am Series run on the track, Mark, so there's going to be rubber down, but is that rubber going to match up with this Firestone rubber on these Indy cars? We're soon to find out, but I expect the good news with that is that it's not just single car qualifying where you go out and just rip 2 laps and that's it. You get several laps to kind of figure your car out. You know what it's doing. You can make some changes on it before you go back out. You have time, so I expect everybody to be pretty content with the way qualifying goes today.
Well, you know, Davey, about that session yesterday, Power, Palou, Rossi, Award, Lundgaard, your top 5, and then Herta, Malukas, Grosjean, McLaughlin, and Dixon, the top 10. And for all intents and purposes, a lot of the intel, a lot of the data that they gleaned from that session, I would assume, even as you said, some of that rubber washed away, but all in all conditions very, very similar, I would think. And so the setup from yesterday should, for all intents and purposes, be effective today.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that's changed, you're right, on those conditions, you're right. The only thing that may differ right now, Mark, we just mentioned the TA Series was on, Trans Am was just raced. I do look around the track. They were about to go. We should be green right now, but they had a lot of carnage. A lot of, did I see oil dry on the track? So we see some debris they've picked up, and it looks like it's pretty good at most places, but there may be a little oil drop, maybe a little slick in areas from the TA2 series that ran before right now.
Speaking of conditions, let's get the specifics on that by welcoming in Ryan Marine.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Happy to say the rain has stopped. The track has dried out like you guys have talked about, and certainly it is the most favorable session we've had all weekend long across both the NTT IndyCar Series and Indy Next by Firestone. Temperatures up now just a little under 90 degrees, 87 degrees. Track temperatures starting to approach triple digits as we do have some sunshine overhead here a little bit later in the afternoon. Certainly different than when these drivers were on track in what looked like monsoon conditions at times earlier today, certainly with the amount of puddling around the track, which had a lot to do with the massive delay that we've been under. But happy to say drivers are starting to get ready, and the first group of drivers that will be taking part in the first qualifying session, they are about to get strapped into their race cars, which means we are getting close to finally going qualifying here for the third running of the Music City Grand Prix.
And group number 1 will feature Renus VK, Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Augustin Canapino, Benjamin Peterson, Graham Rahal, Santino Ferrucci, Elio Castroneves, David Malukas, Linus Lundqvist, Christian Lundgaard, and Alexander Rossi. Davey, we have made mention of the fact throughout the course of the season that you know, there is a balance of power. There is parity, despite the huge lead that Alex Palou still enjoys. But, Davey, when you look at group number 2, if you were going to label one as being stacked, I think group number 2 today is pretty stacked.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty stacked. And one reason, you know, a lot of these drivers like to be in group 2 because the track gets a little better. The first group gets some, so this Firestone rubber on the track gets it clean. They kind of have something to shoot for. They seem to like that better. But when it's as stacked as it is, that could be a deficit, because right now, I tell you what, a lot of the fast guys, as you just said, Mark, they're in that group number 2.
Just got the word, Davey. We got but we're on a 5-minute hold. So teams have been showing the 5-minute mark. So Davey, before long, we'll be able to start qualifying. And this is it's getting to the point where it's a little unnerving for these drivers. I would imagine they're anxious to get out on course.
Yeah, they are definitely ready to get on course. It's been an up and down day, especially when you have to wait around all day. I mean, all of a sudden, it's not time just to be able to leave and go do something and come back. It's, you got to stick around this racetrack, and a lot of delays today, but they'll get it in.
Let's go to Alex Wolf.
And standing by with the guy that's going to be in that stack qualifying group, the NTT IndyCar Series points leader, Alex Palou. And Alex, what a difference a few hours make from when we were out earlier for practice with that monsoon-like conditions. What do you think the outlook is for this qualifying session with the heat and the sunshine really coming in?
Oh, yeah, looking forward. It's been obviously a long day of just waiting and not driving much. But, yeah, looking forward. We had a really good car yesterday on the dry. So looking forward to see what we can do. It's going to be tight as always in qualifying, but I think we're ready.
Year 3 on the street course in Nashville. Of course, all the talk about how bumpy it is, how tight it can be at times. What maybe have you noticed with sort of the general wear and tear on these streets from year to year to year that maybe are little nuances that are different each year here?
Yeah, it's always different on a street course. I mean, it's not a real racetrack, right? It's you get a lot of winters, bad winters, good winters, but honestly, it didn't change too much. There's been more bumps, but I think also IndyCar did an amazing job on fixing some corners, like turn 9. It's been fixed and modified, last 2 corners as well. So, yeah, I think they did a good job. Hopefully it's going to be a good race and entertaining race for the fans tomorrow.
I'll let you hop back up on the timing stand, and we look forward to seeing what you do here in qualifying a little bit later.
Thank you.
That's Alex Palou.
Yeah, good stuff. And but tell you what, it's 2.1 miles in length, 11 turns in all, 7 to the left and 4 to the right, helping to set the stage to get everything unfolded and get everything started. We welcome in Nick Yeoman. Hi, Nick.
Hello, Mark Janes, high above the start-finish line on the front straightaway here in the streets of Nashville. Nissan Stadium. The shadows bear down on the front straightaway now. I'm high above turn number 11. It's one of those left-handers that you described. When they leave turn number 10, they'll head down Russell Street before climbing on those brakes, stabbing the throttle out of that corner, and jumping onto 2nd Street, where they will run down to the start-finish line. I can see them all the way down, Mark, before they get on the brakes again for turn number 1. That turn 1, turn 2 complex, very tight, left and back to the right. But looking down, you can see all these drivers strapped into their race cars, getting ready to fire engines, as we're just a couple minutes away from qualifying here on the streets of Nashville.
We'll pick it back up from Nick Yeoman, and then we will follow them across the Korean Veterans Bridge, and then we'll get to one of the more technical portions of the race course, and that's where we will have Jake Query today.
Thank you so much, Mark. This is an interesting area of the racetrack because, to put it in its simplest form, as soon as they go over that bridge, and that means that they are on the other side of the Cumberland River from Nissan Stadium, they've got to get back over to the area where the paddock and the stadium is. So they go simply around a little square block area that is a left-handed turn number 4, then a slight kink that is turn number 5. A lefty that's turn number 6, a lefty of turn number 7, and then a right-handed turn right back over the bridge. It is a technical and narrow area of the racetrack, Mark. It is not necessarily an area where you might make a pass, but it is an area where you might find yourself collected. So it will be interesting to watch, as it always is here for the 3rd consecutive year, how they navigate it here on the streets of Nashville, Tennessee.
They go back across that bridge, and again, a technical portion of the course, and going into turn number 9, and that is an interesting one. And to sort all that out for us this afternoon is Michael Young.
Well, good afternoon, Mark Janes, and it's certainly, I think, tight would be the word to describe turn number 9 as they come across the Korean War Memorial Bridge. They make their way down. It's a slight right-hander as they make their way down off of that bridge. Left-hander, it's 90 degrees down into Interstate Drive, and as I said at the top of just describing this turn, it's extremely tight. It's a hard 90-degree turn. You're carrying a lot of speed down into turn number 9. There are tire barriers to the outside of the turn, but it's easy to clip that front left on the corner if you get too tight or if you're racing side by side somebody. A lot of fun, a very technical course. Going to be interesting to see how qualifications play out today.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to the call throughout the course of the weekend. As a matter of fact, activity already picking up. Group number 1 at Renus VK, Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Augustin Canapino, Benjamin Peterson, Graham Rahal, Santino Ferrucci, Elio Castroneves, David Malukas, Linus Lundqvist, Christian Lundgaard, and Alexander Rossi. And Davey, we expected this 10-minute session when the clock starts. Given the fact 2.1 miles in length, we're probably going to get to about the 5-minute mark before we start seeing those alternates.
That's the number, isn't it, Mark? About 5 minutes left. They're going to come in. They're going to get the green sidewall this time. So they're the green sidewall softer compound tires that Firestone brought here to the street circuits. And that's where we're going to see the times drop. I'm pretty convinced that they're going to drop about 3/4, maybe even close to a second once they put that softer compound tire on. And even though there's not a lot of high-speed corners, I think they're going to gain some speed with those tires.
How about Scott McLaughlin? He clears that Honda corner. Nick Yeoman pops into your view.
Yep, Scott McLaughlin bends it to the left and back to the right through turns 1 and 2. His teammate Joseph Newgarden right behind. Now McLaughlin to the right-hander of turn 3, Mark, as he will jump onto that bridge and start to accelerate here in Nashville.
And accelerate he will as he'll get to the crest of that bridge. It's a noticeable uphill climb to it. He clears it, starts to head back downhill, and as he does, it bends back to the right into the view of Jay Query.
You know, it's interesting. This has to be over the course of the NTT IndyCar Series season schedule, the area where you go through 5 turns probably the fastest, because you go over that bridge as Scott McLaughlin did already in through turn number 8. It's a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 combo. McLaughlin takes that right-hander that is turn number 8 and now works his way back over the Cumberland River.
Red and white color scheme on that car, and just like that, the 55 car of Benjamin Peterson, Davey, with some trouble in turn 11.
Yeah, so the clock keeps going. If I'm not, they did stop the clock for Peterson. He tried to spin around and stalled it. Didn't keep it. So this AMR safety crew, they're there right now. They'll get him fired up quickly, get him going again, and get the session back on track.
Nick, do you have a view of that from your vantage point?
Yeah, in fact, that is right underneath me, Mark, looking down at turn 11, and Benjamin Peterson simply overcooked it. He was lighting up those Firestones probably 200 yards before the corners, so just carrying way too much speed. Couldn't get it woed down. Did it the smart move to go ahead and go straight and not try to make that corner, because there is a tire rack to the outside of that corner that could be pretty gnarly and mess up the front wing of an Indy car. Then when he tried to do the power slide 360 to get that car back onto the racetrack, Mark, he was only able to pull about a half a turn, and that's when he killed the engine. So the AMR IndyCar safety crew has him refired. Peterson, he'll make his way back around as everybody is headed to pit lane.
And as we've noticed, Davey, throughout the course of this weekend, whenever drivers have had issues with the runoff, got to give a lot of credit to those designed with assigned with the design and the setup of these racetracks. A lot of these runoff areas very forgiving for these drivers, and quite frankly, if they can keep the motor running, it's pretty easy to spin it around and get back on course.
Yeah, that's one thing that one day they should have a practice session for all these drivers somewhere, going in runoff areas and how to spin them around without stalling your car, because it's not that easy, Mark. I mean, there's walls on both sides of it. You got to try to spin it. The key is you got to get a little speed going forward before you try to whip it around there, and unfortunately Peterson couldn't get that speed up. But right now, unfortunately, it's red. The green, he has a long ways to go before he comes in pit lane. I expect to see that green coming out momentarily.
Pit road and Ryan Marine.
Well, certainly when we approach qualifying, the first couple of groups of qualifying, the traditional strategy is to go out and turn the first few laps in the session on the primary black sidewall Firestones, but a few teams will gamble and try and lay down a quick lap on the alternates, in this case the green sidewalls early. Benjamin Peterson, coincidentally, was one of those. Another one is Linus Lundqvist, who has been one of the great stories of this weekend, deputizing for Simon Pagenaud. It sounds like both of the Meyer-Shank cars actually elected to go on this strategy, to go out on a scuffed set of greens, try and put down a flyer early. Maybe some chaos happens late in the session and they can advance through to the top 12. They have not switched tires here during this red flag situation. They're going to go back out, at least for Linus Lundqvist, on a set of those scuffed Firestones. We'll see what they can do with that strategy, trying to transfer in Linus's first ever IndyCar qualifying session.
Had a good session for him yesterday, Davey, in that first session. He was 11th quick in that car that is normally piloted by Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, very impressive for a driver that has never been in an IndyCar event. First time in IndyCar on this track. I think that was an outstanding result. Now, he's won here before in Indy Next, so we know he knows this, the facility, this circuit he knows how to get around here quickly. But to adapt that quickly in that Meyer-Shank car and put it in 11th position, that was really, really good job by him.
No one wasting any time now as the clock starts to roll again with 8 minutes remaining in the session now as literally everyone rolled off of pit road. And again, Scott McLaughlin, the beneficiary of being in that first pit box. Michael Young makes his way across that Korean Veterans Bridge and heads to turn number 9.
Interesting thing was everybody had great separation until the red came out. There goes Scott McLaughlin through turn number 9. His teammate about 2 seconds behind him. There is Joseph Newgarden. And then the aforementioned Elio Castroneves talked about him being on those alternates. They make their way down through turn number 10.
Scott McLaughlin already hard on the brakes and the left-hander of turn number 11. That red and white Dex imaging car looking planted to the racetrack. Here comes his teammate Joseph Newgarden. Mark, nobody hotter in the sport, fresh off of those back-to-back wins at Iowa Speedway.
And they'll make a little bit of a switchback, if you will, make their way through turn number 1, set up for turn number 2, and then it's time to climb back in it as they make their way across that bridge. Scott McLaughlin heads to Jake Query.
So Scott McLaughlin now knows that he's about to go through the area of the racetrack where he's got to mind his P's and Q's, maybe get out of that throttle just a little bit and make sure simply that he is tactical. Scott McLaughlin working his way now through turns 7 and 8. Scott McLaughlin setting up to go back over that bridge and over the Cumberland River. Looks very, very good through turn number 8. Makes that right-handed turn. There goes Scott McLaughlin back out of view.
Yeah, let's keep our eye on him. And again, his teammate Joseph Newgarden is running just behind him. So Scott McLaughlin will get to Michael Young first. Michael, let's go ahead and pick up Joseph Newgarden, who swept the weekend at Iowa a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was an impressive weekend as Scott McLaughlin makes his way through turn number 9. It looks like McLaughlin has gapped himself. Here comes the Iowa winner, back-to-back winner, swept the weekend. Joseph Newgarden swings his way through turn number 9 and is very quick, headed down to that left-hander of turn number 10.
That timing line is just past your corner, Michael. The lead down to turn number 10. Looks like those Penske teammates will stay out onto the racetrack to turn 2 more laps. Couple drivers opted to come down pit lane. One of those is Elio Castroneves, but it is the Penske teammates, Mark, already clear of turns 1 and 2 here in qualifying.
Back to Michael Young.
Very easy to abuse those Firestone Firehawk tires, and Rinus VeeKay just did so. Down in the left-hander of turn number 9, he locked him up at about the 100-foot marker and lit him up through the about halfway point of that turn. So potential flat spots for Rinus VeeKay.
Jake, let's pick up the PNC bank machine of Scott Dixon now as he makes his way across the bridge.
So Scott Dixon, another of those that is trying to put together here in Nashville a solid run to catapult himself into the final quarter of the season. Works his way now up turn number 6, does Dixon. Works his way now through turn number 7. You can really see that curbing starting to irritate the balance for Scott Dixon at that PNC bank machine. Maybe just a little bit squirrely through turn 8. Scott Dixon now back over the bridge.
5-minute mark. McLaughlin, Castroneves, Dixon, Santino Ferrucci, Malukas, Christian Lundgaard as Scott Dixon heads to Michael Young.
It's been very interesting watching these drivers negotiate turn number 9. Pretty smooth down here in the turn, and there you hear Scott Dixon get back into the throttle and really gets up through that gearbox, has that little kink in between turns 9 and 10.
Dixon to the left-hander of turn number 10. It looks like he's going to bring that car to pit lane, and he's going to follow Joseph Newgarden. So, Mark, we're starting to see some of the heavy hitters come to pit lane, and I know our pit reporters will be able to confirm all suspicions are that they're going to be putting on those green tires.
And let's start with Alex Wolff.
And like literal clockwork, Joseph Newgarden brings that PPG multicolored and light blue Chevrolet to the attention of his crew, and they put the green tires on, and he's back underway. And we also see Scott Dixon's come out, and momentarily we were expecting Scott McLaughlin as the switchover begins.
4.5-minute mark. McLaughlin, Dixon, Rossi, Newgarden, Lundquist, and Canapino, the top 6. Davey, Castroneves, Ferrucci, Malukas, Rahal, Lundgaard, and Rinus VeeKay. Who do you have your eye on in that second 6?
Well, I think, it's a good job for Canapino in that 6th position right now, but I'll have to say, Santino Ferrucci, I think that he may have something. I know he was a bit at the bottom of the charts, hasn't been good. He told me last night he feels like he has maybe a top 10 car, which that would transfer him in right now. But I think Malukas and Graham Rahal are other two. Actually, Christian Lundgaard, they're 9th, 10th, and 11th. Keep an eye on those guys.
Any indication at all that they're looking for grip, or does it seem to be, in pretty good shape track-wise with all the rain that we've had?
They're looking for grip under braking. Just seems like everybody, I've seen smoke come off. I think everybody's tires to get that brake balance right with its alternate tires and the lack of grip on this track after all the rain. I just think everywhere else seems to be okay other than under braking. Seems like I see a lot of tire smoke, Mark.
Joseph Newgarden now has made almost a full lap, Nick Yeoman, and he is headed your way at speed.
And this is after an out lap, so this will be his first opportunity to really pick those alternate, softer compound green tires and put them through the ringer. Joseph Newgarden roars across the start-finish line, hard on the brakes, Mark, for the left and to the right through turns 1 and 2.
And it is literally, as Nick described it, it is a left and it is a right for Joseph Newgarden. Climbs on the binders and climbs back into it now as he starts that uphill climb towards the crest of that bridge. Joseph Newgarden again. He's coming after Alex Palou after sweeping the weekend in Iowa, Jake.
And one would assume that Joseph Newgarden has plenty of friends and family. The native of Hendersonville, Tennessee, suburb of Nashville, right now working the streets of his hometown, works his way through turn number 7, makes that turn and then sets up for the right-hander. That is turn number 8. Newgarden very close down to the bottom line off turn number 8 as Joseph Newgarden sets sail back over the bridge.
As that lead down to 80 points for Alex Palou. Palou going to try to pile some points back up this weekend as Joseph Newgarden makes his way to Michael Young.
Yeah, 5th quick thus far in group number 1. PPG machine of Joseph Newgarden, the Tennessee native, screams down this back straightaway.
So Joseph Newgarden across the timing line to complete a lap. He'll stay out on the racetrack, Mark, to do another lap. Newgarden through the left-hander of turn number 11. The question is, what did that last lap do for the driver of that PPG number 2?
We know Scott Dixon has gone to P1 now. Scott McLaughlin, Davey P2, then Lundgaard, Malukas, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi. Davey, those are your fast 6.
They are the fast 6 right now. Oh, Rinus VeeKay just shot up into that fast 6, moving Alexander Rossi out of it. Linus Lundqvist, pretty impressive. He's still in that 8th position right now. Elio Castroneves down in 11th. And Graham Rahal showed some speed earlier on yesterday. A little surprising that he's at 12th right now. Expect to see him get a good lap in.
Yeah, we're watching Graham Rahal right now work his way off of that high V corner now, and he'll work his way back across that bridge. We'll see what Graham Rahal is able to do. And once upon a time, Michael Young, that race team closely associated with the good folks at Hogan. When we get to Worldwide Technology Raceway in a couple of weeks, Graham Rahal's going to be right back with that team.
It's going to be interesting to see how that weekend works out for Graham Rahal. He's already through turn number 10. And, Nick, he looked extremely quick that time through here in turn number 9.
Yeah, jumps on the brakes to get through 11. Lets that car glide through that left-hander across the start-finish line. Graham Rahal will start another lap. Hard into turn number 1. Back to the right of turn number 2. A little flick of the wrist for Rahal, Mark, as he heads towards the bridge.
Joseph Newgarden, with 35 seconds remaining in the session, has gone to P4. Scott McLaughlin is still the one everyone is chasing, so it's McLaughlin, Dixon, Malukas, Rossi, Newgarden, Lundgaard, Davey, as the time winds down, less than 30 seconds to go, with Castroneves, Lundqvist, and VeeKay trying to get back in.
That's right. Look how much faster McLaughlin is. 1 minute 15.1. Dixon's a 1 minute 15.7, over a half a second quicker of McLaughlin is over second place Scott Dixon.
Yeah, so it's Lundgaard, it's Castroneves, it's Rinus VeeKay, Graham Rahal, Santino Ferrucci, and Augustin Canapino. Those are the guys, Davey, trying to get in now as the checkered flag flies on the session. Yeah,
checkered flag flies. A little surprise. Christian Lundgaard right now, he still has a shot. So does Graham Rahal, coming through turn 9 right now, coming across the checkered. We'll see what Graham Rahal has as he crosses the line. And no, P8 right now for him. Lundgaard, P7. I think he has a shot. So does Lundqvist, I think. Has he made it across? He's 6 right now. He's hanging on to 6 right now.
Joseph Newgarden is coming. We also see Jake Query, Rinus VeeKay in your portion of the course.
Yeah, Rinus VeeKay set up for turn number 8. Got just a little bit loose in doing so. Might have left a little bit of speed there as he worked his way, kind of a more conservative pass to that right-hander of turn number 8, and now Linus Lundqvist is going to come through this exact same area. Lundqvist down to the bottom of the racetrack, keeping it very narrow through turn number 8.
And we'll keep an eye on him as we see Rinus VeeKay working his way through the final couple of turns now. So again, it's McLaughlin, Dixon, Malukas, Alexander Rossi, Joseph Newgarden, Linus Lundqvist right now, Davey. Looks like he's in the Fast Six for right now.
Yeah, how impressive is that? That rookie coming into this team, first weekend, difficult track, finds it. I think he's the last one. He is the last one to cross that line, and he's going to transfer in to his first time in an IndyCar race in difficult circumstances, been filling in for Simon Pagenaud on a very difficult track, finds himself going to the next round.
So it's McLaughlin, Dixon, Malukas, Rossi, Newgarden, and Lundqvist. Those are the 6 that move on. Lundgaard, Rahal, Castro-Neves, VeeKay, Santino Ferrucci, Canapino, and Peterson do not move on as qualifying continues for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix.
What an absolutely fantastic session that was. Certainly was a surprise. McLaughlin at that end of the session getting a fantastic run around. 1:15, 1:6.29 then. He goes fastest overall. You can see Group 2 getting ready to go out. Dixon, Malukas, Rossi, Newgarden and Lundqvist complete the top 6 as well. Separated by around about 9/10 of a second then. Not so bad in total going forward. VeeKay had the biggest loss overall as well, down in 10th position. That means he starts 20th overall in the results. Rod Brown says, I think Scotty's annoyed, and with a bit more fruitier language, I think it is possible he is annoyed. But he is fastest by 0.6 of a second to Dixon in 2nd position. The green light is about to go on soon as well, all set for the next run around, but did not participate or advance. 13th on the grid for Lundgaard, 15th for Rahal, 17th for Castro-Neves, 19th for Rinus VeeKay, 21st for Santino Ferrucci, 23rd Agustin Canapino, and Benjamin Pedersen will start last. Not setting a time, he will be 25th on the running order here going into the race on Sunday, which will be live, back with the full team in the commentary box as well. We're in a break then, but before the second part of qualifying gets underway, the IndyCar radio team just on an ad break so far. So, advancing for the Firestone Fast Six, as I said, Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, David Malukas, Alexander Rossi, Joseph Newgarden, and Linus Lundqvist. Linus Lundqvist getting through as well. That is absolutely fantastic. I was on debut. Lundqvist will be into the Firestone Fast 12. It's already better than what we saw earlier. Let's head back over to America.
In with those who are on the outside looking in terms of moving on. Ryan Marine's caught up with Elio Castro-Neves.
That's right, and Elio, it sounds like you know exactly where it went awry for you on that qualifying lap.
Yeah, I know. It's our second set, it was actually pretty good. I went a little bit too greedy in turn 4, lock up the front, destroy the right front. I can't believe it. We'll still be able to make it, but when it comes to turn 9, because of that issue and the vibration, the car just didn't turn. But man, this is probably one of the best cars I had all season. A shame that I screwed up. But the good news is our teammate Linus made it, so good for him. We're still wishing, obviously, Simon get better and quick and recover. But at least Linus did a great job. Good job for him.
How impressive has Linus been his first weekend on a really typical track?
Absolutely. You know, I came from Indy Lights. I know how that series, or Indy Next, I know how that series stuff is and actually mold drivers. And today is a perfect example. He's right there on the top 12, and let's keep cheering for him.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, Elio.
Thank you.
To Alex.
With the Toronto winner, Christian Lundgaard. Christian so tight out there with the separation from 6th to 7th. Was there sort of one spot on the track where you think maybe some time was lost, or how'd the 45 car feel?
No, I know exactly where it all went wrong. It isn't really a driver error. It was across all 3 cars, so I'm looking forward to see what Jack can do now. But we just made a silly mistake that unfortunately cost us the whole qualifying today.
I know just a little bit of dry running time yesterday. What do you think you have race-wise for the race tomorrow?
I think we'll be fast.
Look forward to seeing what he can do. Our first-time winner.
Yeah, it's a pretty common theme, Davey, among the couple of drivers that we talked to. They know exactly what went wrong and in some instances where it went wrong.
Yeah, no, and qualifying is difficult no matter what, but when you really didn't get a chance to practice this morning at all and make some final adjustments from yesterday in your car, and the track doesn't have quite as much grip, and it's a big challenge. Just like you said, he locked his tires up. I've seen a lot of that from a lot of the drivers out there locking those front tires up. And what happens, what Elio said, it flat spots. If you lock it up long enough, it makes the tire so it's not round anymore. It doesn't, because it's not rolling when it's locked up. And then the higher speed you go, the vibration comes, and it's always scary when you're going as fast as these guys are going, and it's vibrating. But when he got to turn 9, that right front bouncing around just wasn't able to get through there quite as well. And it seems like most of the drivers that we're talking to, they know Lundgaard, as we just said, he knows where he messed up, knows he's going to have a fast car for tomorrow.
Ericsson, Will Power, Marcus Armstrong, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alex Palou, and Pato Award in this group, along with Devlin DeFrancesco, Kyle Kirkwood, Stingray Robb, Jack Harvey, Felix Rosenquist, Callum Ilott, Colton Herta, and Roman Grosjean. They are trying to join Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, David Malukas, Linus Lundqvist, and also Alexander Rossi. So, again, all the groups are plenty stout. This one might be, I think, the toughest of the two. We shall see as Will Power makes his way toward Jake Query.
As he works his way, does Will Power off of turn number 5. We'll take a look now and watch and see how he navigates around this 6, 7, 8 combo. So far, so good for Will Power. Now works his way through turn number 7. You could really tell he's starting to get into that throttle off of turn number 7. Will Power now sets up for turn number 8. Sets sail, a little bit of an elevation over the bridge. Michael Young, Will Power about to come into your view.
He qualified 8th last year. Just a quick update on Marcus Armstrong. He locked him up coming into turn number 9, so much so that I think he probably threw that set of Firestone tires away. Will Power makes that left-hander. Let's see how he does on this first lap. Looks good as he exits turn number 9. Colton Herta, 2 year ago pole sitter. He's right behind him.
When does Will Power not look good in qualifying? That's the question I would ask. He does look awful strong here to the left-hander of turn number 11. That red and black Verizon car, heavy on the accelerator across the start-finish line. Colton Herta giving chase as Will Power mark streaks out of turn number 2.
And Will Power goes to P1 mainly because he was the first one across the timeline. Then Colton Herta is going to make his way behind him, as Nick told you. We see Roman Grosjean, we see Marcus Ericsson also turning laps now. So they make their way through turn 1 through turn 2. Colton Herta, the next one to head to Jake Query.
And one of the real surprises so far, I think, actually on this day is the fact that Devlin DeFrancesco has Ric Flair with a woo on his car, and Nick Yeoman has yet to reference it. But now, coming off of turn number 8, we'll take our eyes on Will Power. Colton Herta is going to be behind him, and then it is Scott McLaughlin. Colton Herta, though, back to that point. Looks good through turn number 8 as Colton Herta sets sail to go back in, setting up Michael for turn number 9.
Had an opportunity to talk to Colton before qualification. Seemed very relaxed and very confident. There goes Will Power, and here comes the California native. Colton Herta makes that left-hander right back into the throttle. Looks very good as he makes his way to the midway point of this back straightaway.
Yeah, Marcus Ericsson and Scott Dixon have the 2 wins here on Nashville, but I know Colton Herta looks at this racetrack and thinks of what could have been, because, Mark, there have been some weekends he's been awful strong here in Nashville. Colton Herta across the start-finish line, giving chase to Will Power into turn 3.
A couple of years ago, Davey Hamilton, Colton Herta was a pole sitter here, and then last year he had an early incident in the race with Devlin DeFrancesco and came storming back to a fairly respectable finish. But yeah, he was looking to have back-to-back great finishes here at Nashville. Last year didn't work out, but he clearly likes 3 courses.
Yeah, he definitely likes this course. I mean, he's been fast here both years that we've competed on this track. Just hasn't worked out for him. I know the first year he was really dominant. He was fastest in every practice. He qualified P1, and then they had a bad pit stop, put him behind, and he was just trying to catch up to get back in the front. Just overcooked it in turn 9 and got into that tire barrier. So frustrating for him not to have a good finish here. As much as he likes this place and as fast as he is here, that could all change this weekend, though, Mark.
So we're at the 6-minute mark. Let's go to turn 9, Michael Young.
Well, you hear Will Power trying to get that car going back into the right direction. He locked him up about 50 feet before turn number 9, thought better of it. He used the runoff and quickly got that car turned back around, but the Verizon driver will throw away a lap that time through.
And Davey, he's right now 11th quick, so he's going to be one of those guys I think that are going to be pretty anxious to get to pit road and put those alternates on.
He is. Well, he's going to take one more lap here, Mark, and he locked that left front up pretty good going down into turn 9, as Michael said, and now he's going to make one more lap, try to get the braking proper. He makes some adjustments on the brakes while he's in the car, front to rear balance, just try to put some more rear brake in that car so it doesn't lock those fronts up. Key moment before they put the softer sidewall or softer compound tires on.
Colton Herta currently running well in front of him. Let's pick up Will Power, Jake.
Will Power again starting to set up for that 5, 6, 7, 8 area, as Will Power also in this area of the racetrack. Behind him is Romain Grosjean. Power now turn number 7. Got pretty wide off of turn number 7, did Will Power, setting up now for the right-hander that is turn number 8. He has just in front of him the car of Marcus Armstrong. Both of them now starting to work their way over the bridge.
Stingray Robb just used that runoff, so he'll throw a lap away. Now here comes Will Power. Certainly not the speed that he had as he came through that last time, followed by Marcus Ericsson, Marcus Armstrong, and then the aforementioned Romain Grosjean.
Will Power out of turn number 10. It looks like he's going to tug that steering wheel a little bit harder to the left out of corner exit. That puts you back on a pit lane. So the driver, Mark, who picked up career poles 69 and 70 at Iowa Speedway, is going to bring that Verizon Chevrolet to pit lane, along with a host of others. In fact, pit lane getting awful busy here on the streets of Nashville.
An official intermission, if you will, Davey Hamilton. Your top 6 for now: Herta, Palou, Kirkwood, Award, Grosjean, and Rosenquist. Then we go to Armstrong, Ilott, DeFrancesco, Ericsson, Power, Robb, Harvey, Hunter Ray trying to get in. An update for pit road with Alex Wolff.
Things getting busy towards the back half of the pit lane. Pato Ward, also Alex Palou, Felix Rosenquist, Kyle Kirkwood, and others making the switch to the alternate greens as we're halfway through this session. Up to Ryan Marine.
Yeah, busy here on this end of the pit lane. That was Will Power you just heard leaving his pit stall. They promptly took his set of primary black tires off, replaced them with a set of sticker greens, and as quickly as they could do that, give a quick look over the car and make a slight aerodynamic adjustment to compensate for the change in tire compound. They sent Will right back out onto the racetrack.
Jake Query.
Mark, the last time by, just before everybody went to pit road, it probably might have already had necessity for Felix Rosenquist to get to pit road. I think they wanted to take a rear look at it. Looked like he got a little bit loose last time by, just in front of me in turn at number 8. I don't think that he made contact, but that rear end really stepped out, and so it might have interrupted the balance, might have just kind of swiped on that rear wing for Felix Rosenquist. So might have been timely to be able to come in and have the opportunity to take a look over that machine.
Davey, you got to look at a couple of different angles of that replay.
Yeah, hard for you to see, but the left rear tire did touch that outside barrier. It looked like it hit on the tire itself, not the wheel, so it gave it just enough cushion or movement in that tire not to bend its suspension. But, right now he finds himself in that 6th position. He needs to go out and really cut some laps, and I'm sure they checked that out, but he did make slight contact. That was a good observation for sure.
We've got our eye on Alex Palou, who was second quick in the first round of that session now. Alex Palou makes his way through turn number 9, setting up for turn number 10. 80 points the lead for Alex Palou, Nick Yeoman. He's probably thankful to have that much of a lead now headed to Nashville.
Yeah, I think all told, Mark did a nice job of some damage control at Iowa, considering how good Joseph Newgarden was. Did end up with a podium in race number 2, but Alex Palou thinking about a front row start here in Nashville. He's already clear of turns 1 and 2, Mark, through the right-hander of turn 3 as he accelerates up that bridge.
And he will climb on it and go uphill and then reach the crest and pick up momentum as he heads down toward the portion of the course that Jake Query will call this weekend.
Thought it was interesting that our colleague Georgia Henneberry was doing an interview for IndyCar with various drivers about how they spent the off weekend. Alex Palou said he spent his in a simulator, continuing to familiarize himself with the streets, for example, of Nashville. Lefty, turn number 7 for Alex Palou, then the righty that is turn number 8, and he looks very, very strong. Alex Palou now already, Michael, at full speed coming into your view at turn number 9.
And never good when Alex Palou looks good, especially here at the Nashville Speedway as he comes into turn number 9, a 7th 2 years ago. And Nick, he finished on the podium last year. He looks very good through turn number 9. A little slow last time, but certainly on a flyer this time through.
Yeah, I mean, he's only been in IndyCar for 3 or 4 years, Michael, but I'd challenge you to find Alex Palou's worst track. I'm not sure one exists. That's how consistent he is. Mark, he's quick on the accelerator, roars across that start-finish line that is now baked in the shadows of Nissan Stadium. Alex Palou, a former champion through turns 1 and 2.
He is P1 and he has put together, Davey, quite a consistent year. I mean, he has finished no worse than 8th in any race this year, and you couple that with his wins, and that's why he's leading the points.
By a long stretch. I know that Joseph Newgarden sweeping Iowa gained some points on him, but he still has a huge lead, I think, of 75. So over a race, he could miss a race and still be leading this championship, but he has to be careful. It's his to lose right now.
Jake Query.
Will Power just had the exact same thing happen to him that happened to Felix Rosenquist. Not sure that Verizon machine off turn 7 made contact, but Will Power, as he does every so often, Nick talked about 70 pulls. Oftentimes he lets it all hang out. You could have swiped a credit card between his right rear and that outside retaining wall in turn number 7.
He was fast in that first practice session yesterday, Davey, but made contact with that little switch back there in turn number 1.
Yeah, he did make a little contact there. Checkers, that came out right now. Wheel sits in that 4th position. Right now it's, let me see, Palou, Pato Award, Grosjean, as Colton Herta, no surprise, goes to P1. So now it's Herta, Palou, Award, Will Powers hanging in there in that 5th spot.
Michael Young, you hold on to it in turn number 9. Who's headed your way?
We just had the Pato Award make his way through. So too the machine of Kyle Kirkwood. Hadn't heard a lot about Kyle Kirkwood this weekend, but he will clear turn number 9. Last car through. You heard a quick bleep of the tires. That's Devlin DiFrancesco at the exit of turn 9. Still more cars to come, Mark. I thought we were done for a second. We have Ryan Hunter-Reay, Marcus Ericsson, a flurry of cars coming through. Marcus Armstrong makes his way through, and then Stingray Robb.
And they're all headed to pit road with that checkered flag in the air. And so Davey Hamilton is Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Alex Palou, Pato Award, Roman Grosjean, and Will Power 6th quick in the session. Look like Rosenquist, Armstrong, Eilon Ericsson, Harvey, Stingray Robb, DiFrancesco, and Ryan Hunter-Reay do not advance.
They do not advance. No surprise with Rosenquist. Seems like he's been really on his qualifying game here lately. Finds himself in that 7th position, 1 out, as you said. Marcus Armstrong, that's still a good run for Marcus. He hasn't been here before either. He's doing good. I think every race he goes to gets better and better. But how about Marcus Ericsson, the winner of the inaugural race, finds himself in that 10th position right now. He's going to be starting back in this field.
Interesting to note, Davey, in the practice session yesterday, all of his teammates were in the top 11. And looking back on the times yesterday in session number 1, he was no better than 25th in that session.
Yeah, and I even mentioned, I thought, well, maybe they're working on race setups for that team. Maybe they have a different setup on him. But for whatever reason, you'd think he knows this track pretty good because he was 1 on it, but just seems to be struggling at this point compared to his teammates.
Herta, Kirkwood, Palou, Award, Grosjean, and Power. McLaughlin, Dixon, Newgarden, Malukas, Lundquist, and Rossi. Those guys move on to the round of 12 when we come back.
So much to look forward to then as well. Starting 14th, Felix Rosenquist. Marcus Armstrong 16th. Callum Eilert will be 18th. Marcus Ericsson will be 20th. Jack Harvey 22nd. Stingray Robb 24th. Devlin DiFrancesco 25th. And 26th will be Ryan Hunter-Reay. The 6 advancing, as you heard from our IndyCar team there on the radio. Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Alex Palou, Pato Award, and Romain Grosjean, as well as Will Power. So there's an awful lot more to look forward to here in IndyCar coming forward as well. There's a lot more excitement as we take open now with TweetDeck just while the ad break goes on. So Felix Rosenquist as well. Bit of a surprise there not to get through. He's P7. Well done to Colton Herta though. Fastest of the group stages so far. Definitely going to be one to keep an eye out going forward in the situation of things. So Joshua Birch, your host here. Hello everybody. While we are in between the 2 radio shows, as is basically how we just are going to do it tonight. Usually I'm in the commentary box alongside Josh T, Omi and Adam as well, and Megan sometime in the box. But tonight everybody a bit busy doing some other things. And I'm not also 100%. Bit of a stomach upset, bit of tiredness and stress, I think, coming into it. So the team taking everybody going forward. And hopefully soon we'll be back on, ready to go in for the Firestone Fast 12 and then the Firestone Fast 6, and we can wrap up this incredible qualifying session we are seeing so far. A lot of action to look forward to. So the 6 going through, as I said, as Motorsport Testing, welcome to you. Says, I hate Pato Award, hate too aggressive. Bal says, B-A-L. Says, I like Pato Award, he does great interviews as well. We'll be hearing from his interview side in a few moments' time as well, hopefully on IndyCar Radio if they've got hold of him. That's the place we need to be. But in this first session, let's hand back over in a second. Right, let's go back to live coverage then with our IndyCar Radio team.
Couple of minutes away from the round of 12. Let's head to pit road, check in with Alex Wolff.
With Felix Rosenquist with the Arrow McLaren Chevrolet. And Felix, we saw during that qualifying session, maybe pushing the limits and a little bit of pass. Take us through that moment, and how did the car feel after that?
I thought it was pretty good. It was a lot better in practice. Obviously not a lot of track time, so the track was actually really, really grippy. So it's kind of a different thing out there. It was pretty fun getting used to it, and obviously in a short time. I thought we had for sure the car to go through. I don't know, just didn't happen. Just kind of a mix of, a little bit of everything. Some minor mistakes, just to kind of hit the limiter on some upshifts. And I think when you have 4,000s to get into the Fast 6, those kind of things play in. So a little disappointed, but I think honestly in Nashville you can start from 14th and have a good race. So I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, obviously I wanted to make that Fast 12.
Does it maybe soften the blow a little bit when you just barely miss it, when you realize that the car feels good and that you can pinpoint what the mistake was when you look ahead and reset the focus for the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think the race is going to be, a different beast, obviously, without having a warm-up. So I think we had a really good balance now, so probably want to keep that to the race. But obviously we have no chance to practice how it's going to be with high fuel and all that, so a little bit of a guessing game. But, my team is now pretty good at guessing rides, so I have great confidence that we'll have a good race car tomorrow.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple of guys you got to be happy for, Davey, getting into the round of 12. Obviously, Linus Lundqvist jumps off the page at you. But, David Malukas, I mean, it's been kind of a feast or famine year for that young driver. There's no doubt about it. I mean, David Malukas has had his fair share of success with 4 top 10s. But, Davey, he's also had 6 finishes of 20th or worse.
Yeah, that's right. He's had a tough year after last year. He could have won a few races. St. Louis being one of them. We know that for sure. Getting ready to go back there, see if he can find his mojo there again. But just really an up and down year, as you said. And then, a few races back, he made the announcement that he will not be back with that team this year. And no real explanation of where he's going or why, the whole thought process of it. But other than he's just not going to be there. So, yeah, it is good to see him fast. We know he's a great driver. I expect good things out of him for, a long time coming.
What I find, and because you've been on the business side of this thing almost as long, if not longer, than you were a driver on the side of it, which kind of, puts you on in the business side of it. But, Davey, I think we're reaching the point in the season where guys like him and others, well, they may know where they're going. They just can't say anything about it.
Well, that's right. A lot of them already know. I'm sure. I think we can continue to say that it all it depends on where Palou ends up, where Palou's going to go, and that is accurate. I think Palou's kind of the kingpin of where he's going to go. I think that's already known. I think it's already known, but nobody's saying anything, and they're just waiting until contract are up, and you could legally talk about where you're going or what's going on, and then I think the cards will fall from there. And I told Nick earlier on we should get a pen and paper out, because with all the changes and the potential changes going on in the series for next year, you got to really keep track of it. And I think it's pen to paper to really try to figure out who's going to end up in what car.
Boy, if you're on either side of it, Davey, as a driver or a team owner, there is a bit of a danger in taking a wait-and-see approach and basing your decision on what somebody else does that might not be even on your radar or available to you. If you've got your guy, you better go get him. And if you've got a team, you better go get it.
Yeah, and one thing we look at right now, how about Linus Lundqvist? I mean, he found himself in this top 12 right now, Mark. I mean, we've all known that he wants to ride, that he was the champion last year in Indy Next, that he's a great race driver, but now that he's done this, he's impressing a lot of people right now as we speak. His name's back in the mix, no question about it whatsoever. And then, there's many more that are very talented that could find their way into the IndyCar series. And then which car drivers are going to be gone? I mean, some new ones are coming in. Which ones are we going to lose completely out of the field we have right now? Yet to see, but it's going to be exciting to watch towards the end of this year and going into next year for sure.
And we are watching Will Power in that Verizon machine work his way back across the Korean Veterans Bridge. Before you know it, he'll crest the hill and pop into the view of Michael Young. Here he comes, Michael.
Well, we know where he'll be, back with Team Penske, doing what Will Power does, getting poles, trying to get those victories, smooth through turn number 9, and really works his way through the gearbox, hustles that car through. Teammate Scott McLaughlin right behind him.
Yeah, Will was not wasting any time on this initial lap through turn 11 one lap ago, and he's going to hustle it through that corner again. So Will Power looking for career pole number 71. He'll accelerate across the start-finish line, and here comes his teammate Scott McLaughlin. McLaughlin's had some good runs here on the Nashville streets as well, Mark. McLaughlin through turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, we will certainly pick him up now as he works his way through the tight confines, just past where you would exit pit road, get back out onto the race course. Dex sponsorship on that car of Scott McLaughlin as he starts to now get up to speed, get up to 6th gear, in fact, Jake Query, as he heads your way.
And the interesting thing right now in terms of the time of day in Nashville is that he's going through some shaded areas, and then the sun starts to splash down on that red and white machine. He is behind his teammate Will Power. He is in front of his teammate Joseph Newgarden. Scott McLaughlin looks very good through turn number 7 and turn number 8. That Dex machine now sets up to go over the bridge, exiting turn number 8, and Scott McLaughlin at speed sets up for turn number 9.
Of all the drivers here on this Nashville street course, Scott McLaughlin flat out looks the fastest. Here he comes through turn number 9. He barely touches just about a credit card on the left sides on the apex of that turn. And Nick, he just is flat out fast in every corner, at least I've seen on the video boards as well.
Yeah, boy, rear end of that car really snaps left as he makes his way through turn number 10, and he goes P1 across the timing line. So Scott McLaughlin stays on the racetrack. Mark, he's chasing after Will Power, and Colton Herta behind him here on the front stretch.
Michael Young.
David Malukas just used the runoff here in turn number 9, locked him up, thought better of trying to make the turn and get into those tire barriers, did a nice job getting that car spun back around, and he's back on course.
And we are watching Alex Palou. He just cleared turn number 9, which means before long, Nick Yeoman, Alex Palou, our points leader, comes into your view.
Yep, that car has looked very smooth once again in the American Legion colors as he is about 25 car lengths behind the Mexican driver Pato O'Ward. Out of turn number 11, Palou lets that car drift right in the middle of the racetrack across the start-finish line. Now he's hard on the brakes, Mark, in front of pit lane, bending it to the left and right of turns 1 and 2.
Going to pick up David Malukas, Jake Query. He's trying to put together a solid weekend for the Dale Coyne operation.
And you heard Michael Young mention the fact that David Malukas right now is trying to put together a clean lap. David Malukas, who of course is perhaps auditioning, as Davey had talked about, one of those drivers that may know where he's going next year, but that remains to be tipped in terms of letting other people know as David Malukas sets up for turn number 8. That very familiar paint scheme. Michael, it's going to come into your view in a second, and of course I'm talking about the red, black, and white machine of David Malukas.
Well, let's see how he negotiates turn number 9 this time through. Will he be mistake-free? The Chicago native makes that left-hander and makes it look flat out simple. Makes his way down that back straightaway, crosses that timing and scoring line with Alexander Rossi in tow.
It'll be interesting to see if David Malukas stays on the track or if he'll come to pit lane. Roman Grosjean comes to pit lane. It looks like Alexander Rossi and Pato O'Ward are going to stay out, but Mark, we're starting to see some takers. Looks like Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas.
And we have our eye on Scott Dixon now. Scott Dixon still at P to Jake Query as he starts to make his way toward you. It's McLaughlin, Grosjean, O'Ward, Herta, Palou, and Kirkwood with Dixon headed your way.
So Scott Dixon knows he's got to try to get some speed here in that PNC Bank machine. Worked his way through turn number 6. Now setting up for turn 7 is Dixon. Rear end got just a little bit loose, but it is such a tight turn before all of a sudden then you set up for turn number 8, which Scott Dixon makes without any problem whatsoever. Wide off of turn number 8, Scott Dixon now works his way back over the Cumberland Bridge here, or the Cumberland River here in Tennessee.
What an odd race it was last year for Scott Dixon. What he went through to win that thing. Started 14th, looks good. Making his way off of turn number 9 right now, trying to work his way into that fast 6 as everybody getting set to go to pit lane and go to those alternates.
Yeah, Scott Dixon across the timing line, and he will tug that steering wheel to the left. He'll follow Joseph Newgarden, Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, Will Power. Mark, all of those drivers have now made their way to the pit lane here in the shadows of Nissan Stadium.
An update from pit road with Alex Wolff.
And as Joseph Newgarden pulls into the pits, we're waiting now as they are waving with the right front tire changer for Scott Dixon as he comes in. And one of those early takers was David Malukas. Took off the primary blacks, bolted on the alternate greens. They were cooling off that car. Now they're rolling it back to get it into position. Front wing adjustment as well for the Honda for David Malukas.
So as we get to the back half of this session, those looking to move on to the Fast Six, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, Romain Grosjean, Pato O'Ward, Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood. They're the fastest 6. Power, Lundqvist, Dixon, Newgarden, Rossi, and David Malukas. Davey are the guys trying to get into the Fast 6.
Yeah, now it's going to all change around a little bit. No surprise that McLaughlin and Herta stay up there. They've been pretty fast all weekend, and no surprise with Palou being in that top 6. But can Will Power, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, they were pretty fast early on. Can they find that additional speed to shoot them in the top 6? We're soon to find out. Malukas is probably right now one of the odd guys out, and maybe even Lundqvist. I don't see him making it in that fast 6, but boy, what a great job he's done sitting P8 right now.
Interesting to note, Davey, in that first round, in the very, very first round of the session, we had a lot of guys in that session start on those alternates and then switch to the primaries. And this time around, we've reached to the point now to where everybody's going to go on primaries halfway through the session, then switch to the alternates.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that strategy really was, to be honest with you, Mark. I seen that, didn't think that was very wise to do that. They had some idea, maybe thought that, that the alternates were going to, maybe go off faster, or not, lose grip quicker or something, and the primary tire is going to be better. Not sure, but you're right. Everybody did the same thing this time. Came out with the primary tire. They all have the alternate on right now. We see Scott McLaughlin going over the bridge right now, heading towards turn 9 with that new set of tires, scuffing back and forth, trying to get heat in them.
And Alex Palou will be just behind him, Michael Young, and we'll see guys start to pick up speed now as Alex Palou heads your way.
Everybody trying to find that gap. Alex Palou has found one. Right behind him, the machine of Scott Dixon. He will make his way through turn number 9. So all these drivers starting to put down their first flyer lap. Nick, they should be to you.
Yeah, here comes Alex Palou, and you're right. Nobody in front of him, nobody behind him. Championship driver's done a nice job. He's got clean green racetrack, about 40 car lengths behind his teammate Scott Dixon. But Mark, we watch Alex Palou as he makes the bend to the right-hander of turn 3 and heads towards that bridge.
He got down to around 5, 6, and 7, and Jake Query, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like Alex Palou took a very measured approach to that portion of the track to gap himself some space.
Yeah, I think it's a good area to do it, too, because it's one where you kind of got to tiptoe your way through half the time anyway, but Palou doesn't want to do that right now. As a matter of fact, he is very fast coming into view, setting up for turn number 7, talking about Alex Palou, making that lefty that is turn number 7, and then very quickly works his way around now to set up for turn number 8. Palou looks very close down to the bottom line, the inside groove of turn number 8. Michael, this looks like a very good lap that is being put together by the guy coming into your view, talking about Alex Palou.
Pato O'Ward already has made his way through turn number 9, and here comes our points leader. The Spaniard makes turn number 9 and makes it quickly. Gets right back into the throttle. You can hear him already down to the kink. He's crossed that timing and scoring line. Good lap for Alex Palou.
American drivers just hustled their way through turns 11. That is Joseph Newgarden and Kyle Kirkwood. Here comes Alex Palou. Mark, he's back onto the front straightaway.
Michael Young.
Boy, Will Power was flirting with that outside retaining wall. He came into turn 9 so hot, Mark, he had to woe the car. Let's go to Nick.
Guys, Scott Dixon just clipped the inside of the turn 11 wall, and it shot him back across the racetrack where he absolutely pounded the outside concrete wall. Alexander Rossi tiptoes his way through the corner now, but Scott Dixon, heavy damage, Mark, to that PNC Bank car. Again, a shallow entry into turn number 11. He caught the left front tire against the Honda barrier, the inside of the corner, and it shot him back across the racetrack into the outside wall.
And Davey, that's with 18 seconds left in the session, and Pato O'Ward is P1.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, and it may end right here. They have it stopped at 18 seconds right now, so I'm not sure if they will allow everybody to go back out, cross the timeline, and get one more lap in or not. And that's, Scott Dixon. We know, how good he is, and that's how difficult this track is. He just barely clipped that inside wall. Going to show a replay right now. And when he did that, boy, it shot him straight in that right front first. Did a lot of damage to that car. Knocked the right front corner off of, got into the side pod. Looks like the right rear even took a beating, and that's just unfortunate for him. Will Power, I know Michael said that to turn 9. It was in car when you were calling that, Michael. Yes, he had all the wheel turned to that thing. It was going straight, but he had it turned, almost hit that outside wall as well. So they're laying it on the line right now, giving it all they can.
And that's what this is, Davey. I mean, it's a ragged edge. I mean, you heard guys talk about just how thin that margin of error is in terms of getting yourself to the top. I mean, it's just it forces these guys to push it to the very limit.
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, as competitive as this series is, it's really unfortunate that happened because it was really turning out to be a good run. Pato Ward, Colton Herta. We've seen Malukas in that 6th spot. He was on a good run right there. Will Power, I think that second lap, he almost got in that outside barrier. He knew what he did wrong, and I was waiting to see a good lap out of him. Got to remember now, everybody that comes back out, they're going to have heat cycles in their tires, and that makes a difference. When that tire cools down to come back out, they're going to be allowed one more lap, and that means cross that timeline and try to get it in. I don't expect to see times faster. They can move around within themselves, but Pato Ward, that 114.59, I don't expect to see anybody faster than that. It means they have a heat cycle on these softer compound tires.
More on Scott Dixon in a moment. Let's check in with Ryan Marine.
Well, to your point there, Davey, about these tires, Kyle Kirkwood, who finds himself on the outside looking in right now, his team elected to change tires. They took the set of alternates that were on the car off, and they put another set that they had already run earlier today back on. Now, that's going to have some wear. It's going to have a heat cycle in it, too. But I think they're trying to mitigate perhaps some of the performance loss that you talked about there, Davey.
Yeah, and it could be a situation where he might have locked that tire up already or had something, just not feel as good, maybe out of balance, maybe just didn't feel the grip that first set had, and was able to feel that right off the bat and said, hey, I like my other ones better, put those on for sure.
I know it's qualifying, Davey, but how rare is what we're seeing in terms of where Scott Dixon's car sits right now? 380 career starts, only 52 DNFs. Now, again, there's not a DNF, and he's not going to finish qualifying, obviously, the last 18 seconds, but that gives you an idea of what a rarity this situation is for one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, you don't see this very often, but that just goes to show you that he is human. I mean, he can make mistakes, and that we know that he can still win this race no matter what. He's going to be starting 12th tomorrow in this race. That's still very doable to win this race, and we know how great that team is as far as getting him up front with pit stops. They're very good at strategy over there. Mike Cole does a great job, and Chip Ganassi, and so he's not out of contention to win this race still yet, even though he's on the hook right now.
Yeah, and we have seen this a handful of times during this knockout qualifying format, Davey, where we've had a handful of drivers who have had issues. And boy, let's face it, if you're going to have them, it's best to have them in the round of 12 rather than in the first couple of rounds.
That's right. At least you're going to start in that front half of the field, and that's what Scott Dixon's going to be. He's going to be in that 12th spot, as we just mentioned, and that's exactly right. If you're going to make a mistake, make it later in qualifying as you possibly can. For example, if we have in the top 6, the worst he would have started with 6. So, but that's right. You want to do it late as you can in qualifying.
Nick Yeoman, how about an update on the cleanup?
Looks like the cleanup is just completed, Mark. There wasn't a whole lot of damaged parts to clean up. They had the front wing ripped off of that car, but Scott Dixon's car is now being towed by a wrecker back to the paddock. And again, I should report, he got out of that race car and was okay, but heavy right side damage, I should say, to that PNC Bank car. But looks all good down here in turn number 11, so we should be good to resume qualifying here in a matter of seconds.
And again, Davey, more positives, trying to make a positive out of a negative, is we're about a minute away for green. Let's face it, if you're going to have an issue, it's best to have it on a Saturday night when you don't race until noon on Sunday.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They got time, plenty of time to fix that car. You know that they know how to. This crew knows exactly how to get it exactly like it was when he was on the track just before this happened. So you can see the inside of that turn 11 wall where he just barely scuffed it. It barely scuffed that wall, but just enough to shoot you to the outside. We see that happen a lot. Every driver is trying to make as much of a straightaway out of every corner that you can, and sometimes they cut that inside just a little too close.
Now, interesting to note here, Davey, 18 seconds left. Everybody gets one timed lap. So I wonder, is there any chance at all, like an O'Ward or a Herta or a Palou says, you know what, I mean, we're gonna stick with the hand that we've got right now, and instead, Power, Kirkwood, Newgarden, Rossi, Lundqvist, Dixon, not Dixon because of the damage, but at least those 5, and maybe Malukas, Grosjean, McLaughlin are going out. Or do you think they'll all go?
Yeah, they'll probably all go, but I will say, because it is a risk, you want to try to get the most out of it, but I would have to think Pato, Colton, and Palou, they're safe. I don't think they really need to go out. I think that they're going to be okay. Behind there, I think you got to go, just in case. Now, Palou, you got to look at this. A 1:14.7 is Herta, a 1:14.7 is Alex, a 1:14.7 is McLaughlin, a 1:14.7 is Grosjean. So it's tight between second, fourth, or second, fifth, but I think they'd be safe. Now, Malukas, he's a 1:15.0, quarter second off, and with Will Power hungry, Kyle Kirkwood still out, Newgarden, Rossi, hungry guys right there. They're going to try to beat, knock him off that top 6.
If you're going to go, you better go now, because you had 30 seconds to leave pit road, and that time has now expired. So, Michael Young, you will see the Verizon machine of Will Power. I believe he'll be the first one to come to you at speed.
It's going to be interesting to see if that move that Kyle Kirkwood and that Dirty Autosport team made will be beneficial. There goes Will Power, his teammate Scott McLaughlin. This is it. Once they cross that timing and scoring loop, they will have one more shot to get into that Firestone Fast 6. Nick, Colton Herta just cleared turn 9 as well.
Yep, it's man versus machine versus the elements here on the streets of Nashville. Will Power, the first one, out of turn number 11. He'll streak across the start-finish line. That's not where the lap ends. That's back around turn 9 where Michael's at, but we're watching a pair of Penske cars, Mark. It's Power, McLaughlin, Herta making his way through turns 1 and 2 now.
O'Ward, Herta, Palou, McLaughlin, Grosjean, Malukas, the fast 6 for now. Power, Kirkwood, Newgarden, Rossi, Lundqvist, and Dixon trying to get in as they all motor back toward Jake Query.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Will Power is going to be the first to do exactly that off turn number 5. Then he has McLaughlin, and as Nick had mentioned, it is Colton Herta, the last of that trio that is now working their way. Checkered flag is out, so they all know this is going to be the last time that they have that chance in this round. Will Power will lead that trio, sets up turn number 8, looks good. McLaughlin now is starting to close a gap on Power. As a matter of fact, both of them now setting sail over the bridge. Will Power, Michael, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta just behind him.
Will Power on the outside looking in. 7th quick, then Kyle Kirkwood, Newgarden, Rossi, Linus, Lundqvist. Good looking lap for Will Power. His teammate is just flat out flying. Scott McLaughlin already through turn 9 as well. Here comes the machine of Colton Herta.
And Jake pick up Romain Grosjean, and then Kyle Kirkwood running just behind him.
Grosjean works his way through turn at number 8, and now Kirkwood is going to do exactly that. Kirkwood's car looked a little bit loose. Looked like that rear balance was giving him a handful setting up for turn number 8, but both of them clean as they work their way off of turn number 8. Romain Grosjean and then his teammate Kyle Kirkwood.
Romain Grosjean, he will cross that timing and scoring line, and here comes Kyle Kirkwood. Looks like he has a bit of understeer. Front end wanted to bobble ever so slightly. Mark, did he get in?
So here we go. It's Pato O'Ward, Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Romain Grosjean, and David Malukas. Kyle Kirkwood, Davey, does not get in. He's 8th quick in the session. Will Power does not advance either.
Yeah, and I think that's a situation where the tires have that heat cycle in them. They just don't come back. They just don't have that, that magic speed like they do in their stickers, or they stay heated as soon as you cool them down. So good job on David Malukas. Nobody's able to catch any of those guys nothing really changed, to be honest with you. And so, pretty surprising that you got Will Power out, Kirkwood out, who was P2 in the first round, Newgarden, Rossi, all on the outside looking in right now.
And O'Ward did not go. He did not go out in that last 18-second stint. He was P1 when that clock started, so he stayed put. So he goes into the Fast 6, Davey, with O'Ward, Colton Herta, Alex Palou, McLaughlin, Grosjean, and David Malukas. How about the run? I'll tell you what, got to give a tip of the cap, Davey, to both Grosjean and David Malukas.
Yeah, no, good runs by both those drivers, and I think, that yellow may have helped to both of them because like I say, as soon as these tires go down, you come in, and it's such a big difference. You wouldn't think it would be, but as soon as that tire rubber cools down, that what we call them heat cycles, they get harder and harder as it does that. And I don't think, matter of fact, none of the top 6 even needed to go out in hindsight, but just because nobody caught up to them. But right now, another thing, it's going to have a second heat cycle in the car drivers that went out. I mean, they may put the alternate tires on. They ran round 1. That could be better for this final round, but we know they can't put a sticker set of alternate softer tires on the car for this final round. They can do standard sidewall or standard tires, but not the softer ones.
Let's hear from Kyle Kirkwood. Ryan Marine.
Long Beach winner Kyle Kirkwood will start 8th tomorrow for his second Music City Grand Prix. You had that one last chance to go out. I saw the team swapped a different set of tires, but really, was there ever much of a chance?
Not really. That red flag just hosed us there. It was just disappointing because I was on a really good lap. I actually saved up a little bit on my first lap to make sure I had it for my second lap, where I should have just pushed on that first lap, but that's how street course things go, so it's unfortunate. Our Andretti Autosport 27 AutoNation car has been phenomenal, as always, and it's disappointing that we're not in the Fast 6 right now. I think we definitely should be. It's just that red flag got us there.
Your pace has been good this weekend. The team's pace across the board has been quite good. Can you race your way to the front tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. We started deeper or ended up deeper at some places and have gone forward. So you always like to start it from that front row, but sometimes they just don't give it to you.
Appreciate the time. That's Kyle Kirkwood, who had a top 10 running going last year here on the streets of Nashville before a late race incident, looking to turn that around here 1 year later in Nashville tomorrow. Let's go to Alex Wolf.
With the 2022 Indy Next champion, Linus Lundqvist. What an effort. Your first ever qualifying session in the NTT IndyCar Series is Rinus VeeKay with a handshake. Take us through your first experience qualifying in an IndyCar.
Oh, man, it's intense, but, man, I love it. Loved every second of it. I think, this was exactly what we hoped for and could have asked for. We knew that it was going to be extremely tough to even transfer from the first group, and I think we did a smart choice going red, knowing that it was going to be a struggle here in the fast 12, but I think that just reaching this point was a very good thing for us. So massive thank you to the team. The AutoNation, Sirius XM, Honda was awesome today. So massive thank you to everyone, and yeah, we'll chip away at it tomorrow.
I know you had a couple of test sessions in an IndyCar this season. What's been maybe the biggest surprise you've had as far as a race weekend with being in the car through these last couple of days?
Oh, man, where do I start? It's a lot of things. I think, especially now in quality and even for the race, it's going to be the tire. I never driven on the alternate set of tires before FP1, and I think this was my third run on the reds or the greens here. So, still a lot to learn, but I'm very, very proud of what we did today.
Lastly, a successful Music City Grand Prix for Linus Lundqvist is?
Finishing the race, that's where we start, and then we'll see what kind of pace we have. I think, pace was always going to be there or thereabouts. The race is going to be a completely different thing with pit stops, in and out laps, fuel saving, all that other fun stuff that I've never done before. So we'll see what we can get away with.
A lot of people happy to see you with this opportunity. We wish you a good, safe day tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Linus Lundqvist.
Yeah, Davey, the best starting position for that car this season was an 8th at Detroit by Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, really good job by him, and it just shows, how hungry he is, how talented he is, and then maybe this team's kind of getting things turned around. We talked to Elio too, saying, man, I made a mistake, I should have been up there, and then that one small mistake kept him from transferring to this the Fast 12. So good news all the way around for that team.
Firestone Fast 6 when we come back to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix.
So we're all set then, ready to go for the Firestone Fast 6 coming up shortly. The car's not progressing, of course. Will Power starting in 7th, Kyle Kirkwood 8th, Joseph Newgarden going into 9th, and then Alexander Rossi's 10th, Linus Lundqvist 11th, and Scott Dixon crashing out, bringing out the red flag, missing out on her fastest lap time. He starts down in 12th position, but well done to Pato O'Ward, Colton Herter, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Romain Grosjean and David Malukas especially to go forward and get forward into the next session. So a 6-minute shootout is what awaits us to decide the pole sitter for the 3rd Music City Grand Prix here at Nashville in Tennessee. Music City, it really is going to be next year where we're racing down Broadway as well. There's going to be a lot of action and a lot of interest as to what we're going to see. Cars are ready to go out there on the circuit, and it is fingers crossed to what we're going to see here for an interesting run. Green light will be coming on shortly. Can't think of any Aussies who want so much about Will. I wonder if Will Power and Steve Smith are long lost brothers from there. They could be. I see your point there, actually. But new set of green tyres getting set on Colton Herta's car. I'm just watching down there on my TV pictures on the world feed, down in the pit lane area. And a few of them now just getting ready and changed over to get going. Let's pass it over then, back over to IndyCar Radio for the final session, the Firestone Fast 6.
Couple of minutes away from the Firestone Fast 6. Let's hear from Will Power.
Won a couple of poles in Iowa the last time out, made it into the second round of qualifying, and it looked like you were right on the ragged edge. A couple of close calls with the wall at various points there, Will. How was your qualifying session?
Yeah, I had a time good enough till the last corner there when I did get out near the wall, kind of locked up, and so yeah, just missed out. Real pity, man. Real pity. I would have liked to have got to a fast 6 that was normal. The only one I had was sort of a wet, dry track, and I was the first to finish a lap. But yeah, who knows? You know how these races go.
Well, yeah, we know they've been pretty wild here the last 2 years. Yeah. You're kind of right there in the thick of things, looking ahead to tomorrow. Is that going to keep you up at night at all?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you know how it just try keep out of the mayhem, try pick the right tyre to start on, and see how we end up. Yeah, that's about it.
Wish you the best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, maybe he could bring a consultant, Davey. I mean, he only has 70 poles, in his
right.
career.
Yeah,
I mean, he needs to
all-time most
that
number
qualifying
one.
up, right?
Yeah, and it's always good when you have a driver driving your race car that's all bummed out that he's 7th because he made mistakes. He's not on the pole, but he has 70 of those poles, and so pretty impressive by that driver. And you know that with that Penske team, he could definitely be up front as well.
You know, I mean, 68 poles for IndyCar Series poles past Mario in September of 2022. He's won over 40 times in his career. Another staggering statistic, at least one IndyCar Series race in each of the past 16 seasons. And, a lot of talk oftentimes about Scott Dixon and where he is in terms of the all-time greats. But, boy, doesn't he need to be in that conversation, too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely he does. I mean, and I think he is. I mean, he's going to – maybe we're not talking about it and just because he's so deep into his career. And so, I mean, he's got a long ways to go, and we don't really think about it. But, he's rewriting record books. There's no question about it.
Well, and too, I mean, you talk about drivers being associated with sponsors, and I think that's a match that's very familiar now too. For the longest time we had Ryan Hunter-Reay with DHL, and then we had Scott Dixon with Target, now with PNC Bank. But obviously a great relationship continues with Will Power, Team Penske, and the folks at Verizon.
In Verizon, that's right. It's a long-term relationship. Obviously, the results are there. I mean, he should be in no jeopardy to lose that ride or anything change as long as Verizon. I know they got to have to be happy with him. Obviously, Rogers kept him this long for a reason. I mean, he does such a great job. And like I say, just look at the record books and say, pick out a driver you'd like to have. And when you come across his resume and what he does, he's going to be one of the ones on top of the list.
6 minutes to the Fast 6. It's Pato Award, Colton Herta, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Romain Grosjean, and David Malukas, and Davey Hamilton. Who do you like in this Fast 6?
Well, I think I'm going to, it sounds like a broken record, but just because of his past history, Colton Herta has been on the pole here before. Every time he shows up here, he's been really fast. He was P1 and won, I think, 2 of the practice sessions this weekend already. I think Colton's going to pull it off and get another pole here at Nashville.
Yeah, and he has been strong here at Nashville in the past, as we well documented, and certainly last year a bit of frustration for him. But a pole sitter, and the very first event is Colton Herta. So it's Award, it's Herta, it's Palou, McLaughlin, Grosjean and David Malukas. Roman Grosjean and that DHL machine now works his way into the view of Nick Yeoman. He should be at speed.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mark. Might have had a little bit of contact. Davey Hamilton, you saw some contact on the racetrack.
I was close. Going down into turn 9, it's some of these cars waiting to get to the timeline. Well, Alex Palou, he comes over that bridge at high rate of speed and just misses running into the side of Grosjean's car. Grosjean actually, unfortunately, locks that right front tire, gets smoke off that thing. That's not going to be good for this qualifying run for him.
So, again, an issue between Alex Palou and Roman Grosjean as, again, the clock is ticking at the 5-minute mark, Davey Hamilton, and so you got to wonder for Grosjean and Palou, does that kind of make an adjustment to what their strategy was for this session?
Well, it might. Matter of fact, it looks like Colton Herta, he's still in the pits right now, but that, right now Grosjean may come in and get that other set of alternate tires to put on just to make sure that flat spot where he locked it up in turn 9 doesn't affect him for this qualifying run of the Fast 6.
Jake Query, let's pick up Pato O'Ward.
Pato O'Ward works his way. Turn number 7 looks good in doing so. Then again sets up now for turn number 8. Right-handed turn down along the inside of the racetrack. Pato O'Ward is going to be at speed, looking to be clean, Michael, and he's about to come into your view in turn number 9.
Let's see how the Mexican does. Actually, Davey, that Roman Grosjean incident happened before I just saw 4 cars come in, and Grosjean really laid back. Here comes Pato O'Ward, Nick Yeoman. He's already through the first car at speed. Let's see how he does.
Orange and black, the colors for that Aero McLaren Chevrolet. Boy, he got awful close to that turn 10 wall. That car wiggles under braking of turn 11, but Pato O'Ward, quick on the accelerator, roars across the start-finish line, now back onto the brakes in front of lots of fans, Mark, that have packed the front straightaway, seeing Pato O'Ward navigate turn number 3.
Roman Grosjean back at speed, Jake Query.
Yeah, so we'll see if Roman Grosjean now can take advantage of being the only one in his area as he works his way now through that 7-8 combo. Roman Grosjean, that DHL machine, red and yellow car, works his way now off of turn number 8. Starts to get up to speed, going into that elevation change that is the bridge. Now going back down the bridge. Michael, here comes Roman Grosjean.
Scott McLaughlin P1 and Roman Grosjean P2, so whatever he did to those tires did not affect it too terribly bad, looking very quick through that kink in the back straightaway out of turn number 9.
Here they come towards turn number 10. Looks like Grosjean's going to opt to take that DHL car back to pit lane. So, Mark, all quiet down here in turn number 11.
And before long, Michael Young, we will finally see Alex Palou at speed in that American Legion machine. And the good news for Alex Palou, everyone else is long gone, so he has that straightaway all to himself.
Yeah, it was odd with that incident between he and Roman Grosjean. Grosjean really laid back at the exit of turn number 9. Palou checked out, and here goes Alex Palou as he exits turn number 9. And as you said, Mark James, he has clean racetrack in front of him.
Into turn number 10 comes Alex Palou. He'll hang it out the exit of turn number 10. The side pods on that car, pearl white, dark navy blue, the cockpit and the rear wing. Boy, he is hammering that throttle out of turn number 11. You can almost hear it, Mark Janes. Alex Palou, the championship leader, into 1 and 2.
O'Ward, Grosjean, McLaughlin, Palou, Malukas, Colton Herta has yet to turn a lap, but Jake Query, we saw him clear your area, so that means Michael Young, he must be headed to turn number 9 here pretty soon.
Right on cue. Here comes the California native Colton Herta, first flyer around. He will actually make that first flyer this next time by. But Nick Yeoman, can he get a pole like Davey Hamilton predicted?
I know Davey is always watching that Gainbridge car, and especially on these street courses for good reason, because Colton Herta just has a knack for slinging them around the city streets. Herta, the driver from California, here in Nashville. Mark, he's made his way through turns 1 and 2, about to crest that right-hander of turn 3.
I think this will be the lap for Colton Herta. This is the one that is the measuring stick. It's O'Ward, it's Grosjean, it's Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, and David Malukas. He took a wait-and-see approach before he worked his way out onto the track. He sat a couple of minutes with those alternates on, Jake Query, as that Cambridge machine is in your area.
And as he works his way into turn number 7, Colton Herta has Ticket Clinic is the bannering behind him. The black and gold of that looks very similar to that Cambridge machine. Colton Herta now locked him up just a little bit in turn number 7, setting up for turn number 8. Michael, one would think as he gets ready to go over the bridge, Colton Herta that we're talking about, that he has to think about the fact that turn number 9 is the area where he gave one away on the streets of Nashville.
And he is really closing in on Romain Grosjean. He's flat out flying. Black side pods, yellow accents. Colton Herta will go to P1 that time through.
Here they come through turn number 10. Grosjean's going to stay on the racetrack. Looks like Herta will as well. New driver at the top of timing and scoring. But, Mark, as we know, a lot to change here in the final seconds of qualifying.
Yeah, and Romain Grosjean is one of those that's hoping it will change, as is David Malukas, Jake Query, who sets up for turn number 7.
And David Malukas goes through the area of the racetrack that Alex Palou just went through, and that Pato O'Ward will go through just behind him. But looking back in on Malukas, turn number 8. Now Pato O'Ward just behind him. Both of them setting up sail to go over the bridge. David Malukas and then Pato O'Ward.
David Malukas, this is his first Firestone Fast 6 since Belle Isle 1 year ago. Here comes the Chicago native through turn number 9. Looked like he was a little slow through the apex of that turn. Pato O'Ward's right behind him. Mark James, boy, really sawing at the wheel.
And Jake Query, an issue for Colton Herta.
Yep, Colton Herta missed it in turn number 8. Had to go to the runoff area, get back on course. So if he was hoping to get one more flyer out of it, it's not going to be for Colton Herta when the checkered flag came out.
And Davey Scott McLaughlin with a heck of a run. He goes to P1.
Yeah, by a long ways. How about that? Over half a second over Colton Herta. For 1:14.60 to Colton Herta's 1:15.24. Now, and we know that Colton was laying it out there and went off course and he get that second lap in. But the rest of the field, man, they're packed together. Actually, Pato O'Ward just slides into P2.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward pops a P2 on that last lap now as the checker is out, and that session has ended. And so it's Scott McLaughlin, Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, Alex Palou, David Malukas, and Romain Grosjean. Davey, that was a heck of a fast 6.
Wow, really good, great fast 6 right there with all quality guys. We know how good Scott McLaughlin is. Now he's really seems to be dominating this racetrack. Big speeds, a lot faster, but great run by Pato O'Ward. Going to start on that front row. How about Colton Herta in that P3? Alex Palou, obviously, he's our points champion, but David Malukas is probably the biggest surprise that we have in that top 5. Happy for him and that team, and really happy for Romain Grosjean, actually, with that Andretti team. He good run, and P6 is a good start for him tomorrow.
What a qualifying we've had, and what a race we have got lining up for us tomorrow as well. So Scott McLaughlin, Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, Alex Palou, David Malukas, and Romain Grosjean are your finishes here as well. McLaughlin taking a first career pole position at the Music City Grand Prix as well, and it's come last year when he had 10 pit stops in his session, so a really good result. Well, that's us done then here, all done and dusted, and it's a very interesting session that we've come to say goodbye to. We'll be back tomorrow for all the action from the Moto GP as well, the British Grand Prix. We'll also be back for all the action from the Music City Grand Prix, going underway at 5 p.m. British Summer Time. Scotty Mack on pole position. Thanks for your company tonight. We'll see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.